Hello there. This is going to be my review of Noah's New Navigation 2010 in Tokyo show, which is the culmination of their 10th anniversary festivities that they have been having over the past number of months. Let me say for this show, I enjoyed it for the whole, but there were some things that I did think under-delivered, and when I get to those I will explain why I feel that way. Do I still recommend it? Absolutely. It is definitely a great show. It's worth checking out, and I'm recommending it on my own personal enjoyment of the show, but from the websites that I do observe from time to time, there seemed to be a more favourable consensus over some of the main matches than I personally would afford them. So you can definitely watch this show, and you very well might end up enjoying it more than I did, which could actually enter this. You could actually say that this could end up being an amazing show if that's the case. I just thought it was a great show, but if you like the main matches more than I did, you could say that this was an amazing show. So just keep that in mind. It's definitely a recommended show to watch still. Not as good as the Osaka show, but that's only because the Osaka show had matches of the year candidates, in my opinion. This show is actually a better flowing show than the show that came before it. It just lacks the matches of the year candidates. There's no real match here that really stands out as something that will be remembered in a few months' time. So for an anniversary show, that's kind of disappointing. But I still think it was a great show overall, and definitely recommend it to check out. By the way, for anyone who actually wants the links to the Japanese shows that I do review and aren't already aware of this, all you have to do is send me a personal message, and I will send them along where I actually found the show. I'm sure people do that already, that's a given, but for those who don't do that already and think that I'm just watching the shows and not telling you where to find them, that's not true. I will tell you where to get them. Just send me a personal message and I will take care of it. So just pointing that out for anyone who's not aware of that already. But let's get on to the show, shall we? We started off with a tag team match, Akira Taue and Kentaro Shiga versus Takashi, Okita and Satoshi Kajiwara. This was slightly better than the typical tag team opener that you get from Noah. Things were a little tidier and a little more enjoyable. These tag team openers and tag team undercard matches tend to be a little more muddled, a little more disorderly, but I thought this one was actually solidly done. It's still a standard tag team undercard match from Noah that they always do, and to be honest, when they actually do something a little different, I'll probably end up overrating it out of just pure excitement. But as of right now, this is still just a forgettable match and not really worth spending a lot of time on. 2.25 stars there. So let's move on to another tag team match, Yoshinobu, Kanemaru and Genba? I'm not entirely sure. Hirayanagi versus Katsuhiko, Nakajima and Kento, Miyahara. Those good exchanges between Kanemaru and Nakajima here, which you definitely would expect. But when you think about what these guys could do one-on-one, this was kind of disappointing, I thought. You know, it lacked a lot of the intensity you'd think they would normally deliver. You know, they were doing the moves, but they weren't really giving a lot of emotion into them, I thought. So it was still enjoyable, and it was still good enough to make it an above-average undercard Noah tag match, but still, I think could have been a little better with the guys in here. So just pointing that out there. It was still decent. It was still a good, solid tag team match. So I would say 2.75 stars. Not a bad match and not a downer on the show, which is about as good as you might expect these Noah undercard tag matches to be. So that's good. 2.75 stars there. Then we move on to a 6-man tag match with a lot of heavyweights in here. Yes, Takeshi, Morishima, Yutaka, Yoshie, and Akitoshi Saito versus Yoshihiro, Takayama, Takuma, Sano, and Masao Inoue. This was very fun to watch, I thought. You had a lot of good interactions between different pieces of talent here, and the crowd, they played to the crowd more in this match with some taunting and with some outside brawling that actually did work, I really felt. So, you know, there was good heavyweight exchanges in here, and I did really enjoy it for what it was. It had a good placement on the show as well. You know, at this point in the show, you need something that's fun to keep you interested in what's going to happen next, and that's exactly what this match did. It kept me very interested in what was going to come next, so I did actually appreciate it for that. So I would say 3 stars. A good, solid, fun heavyweight match. It had some comedic elements. It wasn't a comedy match, definitely not, but it had some just generally fun elements that kept interest. So I would definitely say a good, solid 3-star match there. And then we get to one of the more anticipated matches on the card, which is Kenta versus Atsushi Aoki, and this is where things get very, very interesting. You know, you're watching this match, and a few minutes in, you're thinking, oh my god, this was stiff as hell, as you would expect, with striking back and forth in insane motions. You know, Aoki was determined to just give Kenta a permanent daze with constant headbutts, and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way this can go on for too long, because it's hard to realistically sell a head, a targeted head, without severely limiting what you can do in the ring. And it didn't actually go that long. But the match was great though by the time that it did go, and I don't want to say that the only reason I'm not giving it a great rating is because it was short, because that's not entirely fair. But because if they were able to achieve everything that they could possibly achieve in the match, I would definitely say that it is a great match. But as it stands, I just felt like when it ended, I just felt very empty. I just felt like, they could have done so much more. Well, not so much more, but they could have done a little more to make it a great match. So I wanted more, and I felt like they could have had more to offer. But that's the only reason I'm not giving it a great rating. It's still a very, very good match, and definitely well worth checking out. I would actually say that even though it's not the most, the highest rated match on the show, it's definitely maybe the match that's worth checking out the most, because some might feel that they achieved enough in the time that they had to deliver a great match. I just felt like they could have had a little more time, but it was an insane adrenaline rush that kept you hooked for pretty much the entire time, and I just really enjoyed it. 3 3/4 stars there. Great stuff. I might actually change my mind later and decide it is a great match. It just really depends on how I'm feeling about it later on. So we'll keep observing that. But let's move on to another match that I was kind of looking forward to, which is Kensuke Sasaki versus Shuhei Taniguchi. I thought this was disappointing. I really did. I was into the match. The crowd was not into the match at all. This was probably the point in the show where the crowd was at its most quiet. They really didn't react to a lot of stuff that was going on. They did to some parts, but not really near enough as I would have liked. They seem to have the guys in the ring seem to have decent chemistry, and if the crowd had been more into it, I could have said it was a very good to maybe even an almost great match. But as it stands, it's just a very good match. Well, not a very good, a good solid match, I would say. 3 1/4 stars. I really did hope this could be a little better, but as it stands, it was just a good match. So a little disappointing there. I thought it could have been better. I was looking forward to it a little more than this. So, still it's, at this point of the show, we're still having a fun time watching the show. We're still flowing through it very well, and I'm not burnt out at all. I'm ready for the next match, and that's good. That's where this show kind of excels, in my opinion, over the show that came before it, which I've already said my piece on that. But then we get to the GHC Junior Heavyweight Championship match. This was Taiji Ishimori and Ricky Marvin versus Koji Kanemoto and Tiger Mask 4. I hope when I get into describing why I actually thought this match was under-delivered, I don't end up rambling in a way that no one can understand, because I really did. I think I might be in danger of doing that. But let me kind of explain my stance on this one. There was definitely good junior heavyweight action in this. There's no doubt about that. There was good junior heavyweight action in this, and the crowd was into it. And it seemed like they were doing everything right to get an interpromotional atmosphere, because they were making the win seem important. They were doing outside brawling that made sense and actually worked, with decent showings of intensity. And you had the fact that tag partners were being blocked from breaking up pinfalls. It seemed like they were doing everything right. So I was wondering to myself while the match was going on why I wasn't more into it. I think the reason for that was, even though they were making the win seem important, they weren't backing that up with good false finishes. Even when partners were prevented from breaking up pinfalls, I still didn't feel like the match was in any danger of ending. That's my main problem with this match. Up until, I would say, close to the ending, because to be honest, I didn't think the ending was especially good either. But up until close to the ending, I really did not feel like they were doing enough to make it appear like a big dramatic match. I could definitely see where people might think this is a great match, because I definitely saw people give it a great rating. But for me, it's hard to get into it. I just really thought they didn't do enough to make me get into it, especially considering this is actually a title match with high stakes involved. So that's just me. I just didn't feel like they did enough to make me think that the match was in danger of ending at any point up until near the ending. So that's kind of my main problem with this match. I don't know what it is exactly that defines the interpromotional atmosphere and makes it really work to a large extent, because out of the better of the interpromotional matches I've seen out of Japan this year, I would say that I really enjoyed Makabe and Shiozaki. I thought that was really good and really dramatic. And of course, I was pretty much the only one I saw who really liked the tag match from the Osaka show last month. I thought that was a really dramatic, well, not so much dramatic, but just the way they worked the match really transmitted the interpromotional feel, I thought. So I don't know what it is that defines the interpromotional atmosphere. I just didn't feel it from this match. So disappointing. I would say it was very good still. It was very good, but just not as good as I think that some people are giving it. So there is that. 3.5 stars. Still very good. Then we get to Mohamed Yon versus Satoshi Kojima. This match was just there. That's all I can say about this match. It was just there. Nothing really interesting happened in the middle of the match. They were trying to follow a more methodical pace, which meant that they probably should have played to the crowd a little more than they did. They had some outside brawling that worked in that context, but really, they not enough to garner any real interest in this. I thought the ending spot was cool, though. I thought that was a fun little way to end the match, but on the whole, it just wasn't very interesting at all. 2.75 stars. No real reason to dwell on that for too long. Then we get to the match that I was most looking forward to, Go Shiozaki versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and to be honest, it was a very good match. It was a very, very good match, but I thought it was a little bit of a disappointment as well. I was really looking forward to it, and I thought it did underdeliver to a slight degree. I'm a big fan of Nakamura, and I think I have Shiozaki in my match of the year so far, but this I thought it took too long to get going, and within the time frame that they had, because they had a period where Nakamura was dominating, and they had a period where Shiozaki was coming back from that. But neither of those periods had enough time to really psychologically sink in, I should say. And then when the match really did get going, I was really enjoying it at that point. So I was really into it then. But then I really just didn't like the ending sequence either. I just thought it kind of left me feeling like these guys had so much more to offer. So a little bit of a disappointment. I was really into it once it really did start to get very good. But there wasn't enough of that going on. So I would say that 3.75 stars. It was still very, very good, but just not what I wanted. I wanted more, really. So let's move on to the main event. And here again, I'm going a bit against the grain here, because the Nakamura-Shiozaki match and the tag title match I have seen praise given for, which I can sort of understand, even though I wouldn't agree with that. And this match hasn't really been talked about, and I'm not really sure why. Actually, I think I do know why. Probably the biggest problem with this match is everything is familiar. Nothing monumental happens in this. They pretty much go through everything that they have familiar in their movesets and their arsenals. Nothing really stands out about this. It won't be remembered for a while longer, and it's definitely not their better match. Their match earlier in the year was better than this, but I thought it was a great match. I thought it was a fairly dramatic match with, good false finishes in this one, and the few false finishes they did have were actually good, and both men had a chance to be in the domineering position, which they both do pretty well. Nowhere near a match of the year candidate by far, definitely not, but I still thought it was a great match myself, and I did think, especially like the ending sequence, because the ending sequence to me made the match feel very important, and I'm not going to spoil it, but if you've seen Sugiura's reign from the start, you kind of might understand why, and I don't think I've even seen all the championship defenses, but you'll see why if you watch this match. So I did think it was a great match. Not the best match they could have, and it was a little disappointing as well, but I did think it was a great match. I'm kind of curious why people aren't talking about it a little more. So overall, I thought this was a great show. I did think that some things disappointed slightly, but it was an easier flowing show than the Osaka show, and it lacks the match of the year candidates of that show, but I would still recommend it as an overall show. Some websites I do observe gave more credit to the matches that I thought were slightly disappointing, so you probably will enjoy this more than I did, I feel. So definitely check this out. Once again, if you want to know where I found the show, I will be too happy to tell you via personal message. That's all for me for this video. I'm out. Later.